Are you ready to unlock a power that feels effortless, yet unstoppable? Discover a method where mastery comes not from struggle, but from flowing like water, stripping life down to simplicity, and turning discipline into natural action. Learn how to harness the ultimate flow, conquer the inner battles of fear and doubt, and transform striving into pure becoming. Adapt like nature, bend without breaking, and release the ego to find limitless strength. This is not about trying harder. It's about being more. Step into a way of living where calm, clarity, and power converge, and experience mastery in motion. Be water, my friend. Water has no form, yet it can take the form of anything it touches. When it flows into a cup, it becomes the cup. When it enters a teapot, it becomes the teapot. If it falls from the sky, it nourishes the earth, and if it crashes against the rocks, it wears them down with patience. This is the way of mastery, not through force, not through rigidity, but through adaptation. When you understand water, you understand life. Most people think strength lies in hardness and resistance, in showing how unshakable you can stand. But what happens to the tree that resists the storm? It snaps. What happens to the rock in the river? Slowly over time it is carved and reshaped by the gentle persistence of the flow. True power is not about holding yourself against the current. It is in learning to move with it. When you face challenges, do not fight them as if they are enemies. Fighting creates tension, and tension weakens you. Instead, flow around them as water flows around stones. Obstacles are not barriers. They are invitations to change your shape, to adjust your direction. The river does not stop because of a boulder. It finds another path, and in that path it continues with strength and grace. In life, do not waste your energy resisting. Use your energy to move, to adjust, to keep flowing forward. To live like water is to be free. Water does not worry about where it is going, yet it always finds its way. It does not argue, it does not struggle, it simply moves, always in harmony with what surrounds it. In combat, the moment you stiffen, you lose. In life, the moment you cling too tightly to control, you suffer. When you let go, when you allow yourself to flow, your movements become effortless, your power unstoppable. This does not mean weakness. Do not mistake softness for fragility. Water can be gentle, but it can also be fierce. It can soothe, but it can also crash. When the time comes to strike, it does not hesitate. When the time comes to adapt, it does not resist. This balance is where true mastery lives. Gentleness and power as one. To be like water is to trust yourself. It is to know that whatever form you take, you remain true to your essence. Whether calm or raging, still or rushing, you are complete. There is nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to force. Just as water finds its way to the ocean, you will find your way to mastery if you flow without resistance. So do not try to be rigid, do not try to be fixed. Allow yourself to bend, to shift, to move freely. In this freedom, you will discover that the greatest strength comes not from fighting the world, but from becoming one with it. Be water, my friend. Simplicity is the key to brilliance. Too often, people believe that mastery is about accumulating more techniques, more movements, more strategies. But in truth, it is the opposite. Mastery is not in the adding, it is in the subtracting. It is in removing what is unnecessary until only the essential remains. When your mind is cluttered, your body is heavy. When your movements are filled with excess, they lose power. But when you cut away what is not needed, what is left is pure, direct, and unstoppable. Look at a punch. The inexperienced fighter makes it complicated. Tight shoulders, wasted motion, too much thought before the strike. But the true punch is simple. It does not travel with hesitation. It does not carry excess movement. It is clean, direct, efficient. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and so it is with life and combat. The straight line of simplicity always cuts through complexity. People are afraid of simplicity because they confuse it with weakness. They think more makes them stronger, when in fact more makes them slower. Complexity creates hesitation. When the mind is occupied with too many choices, it cannot act freely. But when your mind is simple, when you have removed the clutter, your actions flow naturally without resistance. Simplicity is not the lack of depth, it is the presence of clarity. In life, it is the same. We chase after possessions, titles, recognition, believing they will make us more complete. But the more we chase, the more we carry, and the heavier we become. Brilliance comes when you strip away these illusions and return to what truly matters. In stillness, you discover that the simplest things, the breath, the movement, the awareness of the present moment, carry the greatest power. To simplify is to see clearly. Imagine a pool of water disturbed by stones. The ripples distort everything, but when the surface is still, it reflects truth like a mirror. When your mind is simple, it reflects reality as it is. From this clarity comes the ability to respond perfectly, without strain, without confusion. Do not mistake simplicity for something easy. It takes discipline to let go of what is unnecessary. It takes courage to remove, rather than to add. Anyone can clutter their lives with more, but few can strip themselves down to what is essential. When you practice simplicity, you are not making yourself less. You are making yourself whole. The greatest expression of power is not in showing how much you can do, but in showing how little you need to do to achieve it. Brilliance lies not in effort, but in essence. And when you finally understand this, your movements, your choices, your life itself will shine with a power that needs no ornament, no excess. Simplicity is the key to brilliance. Effortless does not mean lazy. Many misunderstand this truth. They hear the word effortless and believe it to be the absence of work, the avoidance of discipline, the surrender of training. But effortless mastery is born from countless hours of refinement, from dedication so deep that the body and mind no longer need to think about the action. They simply move. What seems effortless to the eye is the result of invisible discipline, the kind of preparation that strips away hesitation until what remains is pure, spontaneous expression. Consider how a child learns to walk. At first, every step is difficult. The body wobbles, the mind struggles, and each movement feels unnatural. But after practice, the child no longer thinks about walking. The legs move freely, balance is natural, and effort disappears. Walking becomes as simple as breathing. The same is true in mastery. At first, every punch, every movement, every choice feels heavy and deliberate. But with training, with persistence, the movements enter the marrow of your bones. You no longer think, you act. When you train with consistency, discipline transforms effort into instinct. This is the path of effortless mastery. It is not a shortcut. It is not an escape from hard work. It is the result of walking through the fire of repetition until the fire no longer burns you. What once required sweat and thought becomes light and natural. To the outside world, it may look easy, but you know it was forged through patience and endurance in combat. This truth is clear. The fighter who hesitates, who calculates too long, is defeated before he moves. But the one whose training is deep, whose actions arise, without thought, flows like water and strikes with precision. There is no wasted motion, no unnecessary strain. This is not laziness. It is the highest refinement of effort. The same applies in life. People believe success demands constant struggle, but real mastery is not about exhausting yourself. It is about aligning yourself. When your actions are in harmony with your nature, when your discipline has made your movements second nature, life itself begins to feel effortless. The tasks that once felt like mountains become as light as lifting a feather. You are not escaping effort. You have transformed it into ease. Do not be fooled by appearances. Effortless mastery is not the absence of work, but the presence of true work, the kind that dissolves resistance, the kind that brings freedom. To reach this state, you must dedicate yourself with discipline, with consistency, with patience. But once you arrive, you discover a power beyond struggle, a strength born of natural expression. Effortless does not mean lazy. Flow is the ultimate power. When you are rigid, you break. When you are stiff, you lose. True strength is not found in holding yourself against the current, but in moving with it. When you flow, there is no resistance between you and the moment. Your body, your mind, your spirit, they move as one without conflict. In this state, power does not need to be forced. It arises naturally, precise and unstoppable. Imagine a river. It does not fight the mountain. It moves around it. It does not resist the earth. It shapes it. Its strength is not in brute force, but in its continuity, its adaptability, its ability to keep moving. This is what flow means in life and in combat. When you are in flow, you do not pause to question. You do not hesitate to act. Everything becomes one continuous motion, as natural as breathing. In that state, even the smallest movement carries immense force because it is perfectly aligned with the moment. When the mind is divided, the body becomes heavy. Hesitation, fear, and doubt are like stones placed in the stream, disturbing the current. But when the mind is free, the body follows with grace. Every strike, every motion becomes an expression of harmony. Flow is not just speed. It is timing, precision, and presence. It is the ability to be exactly where you need to be, at exactly the right time, without struggle. This is why flow is greater than force. Force tires, force resists, force consumes itself, but flow endures. It does not burn out because it is not fighting. It is moving in rhythm with nature. To flow is to be infinite in energy because you are not wasting yourself against obstacles. You are using the obstacles themselves to continue moving. In combat, this means turning your opponent's strength into their weakness. In life, it means turning hardships into growth. To live in flow is to release control, but not awareness. It is not chaos, it is not carelessness. It is the deepest kind of control, the kind that no longer needs to hold tightly because it trusts itself completely. When you flow, you are not separate from action. You become the action. The strike is not something you do, it is something you are. When you learn to flow, power becomes effortless. There is no need to push, no need to struggle. Power is no longer something you force upon the world. It is something that moves through you, naturally, unshakably. In this way, you discover that the most powerful state is not in resisting, but in allowing. Flow is the ultimate power. The greatest battle you will ever face is not with another person, but with yourself. The opponent standing before you is nothing compared to the one that hides within. Fear, doubt, hesitation, anger. These are the forces that weaken you, that drain your power before you even move. If you cannot master yourself, no amount of strength, no amount of skill will ever bring you true victory. But when you conquer what lies inside, no one outside can defeat you. Fear is the first enemy. It clouds the mind, freezes the body, and makes you smaller than you are. Fear is not real in the way you think. It is a shadow, a projection of what has not yet happened. When you learn to face fear without resistance, it loses its grip. The moment you stop running from it, you see it for what it is, an illusion. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to move through it with clarity. Then there is doubt. Doubt whispers that you are not ready, not strong enough, not worthy. It poisons the mind and steals your confidence. Doubt is more dangerous than any opponent because it convinces you to surrender before the fight has even begun. To master doubt, you must trust in yourself, trust in the discipline you have built, trust in the flow of your training. When you act with faith in your own being, doubt has no place to live. Hesitation is the child of fear and doubt. It is the pause that costs you the moment. In combat, hesitation means defeat. In life, hesitation means missed opportunity. To master yourself is to move without delay, to respond in the moment with full presence. When your mind is divided, your body cannot act. But when your mind is still, your action is immediate, natural, precise. And then there is anger. Many believe anger is strength, but anger blinds. It makes you reckless, it consumes your energy, it takes you away from clarity. Anger may give you a burst of force, but it will leave you empty and weak. True mastery is calm. In calmness, you see everything clearly. In calmness, you choose the perfect moment to strike. In calmness, your power is pure. When you master yourself, fear becomes courage, doubt becomes confidence, hesitation becomes decisiveness, anger becomes calm strength. Your movements are no longer chained by emotion. They are guided by clarity. You do not waste energy fighting within, so all of your power is free to express itself outwardly. This is why self-mastery is the foundation of all mastery. If you can conquer the enemy within, the enemy outside cannot touch you. Do not strive, become. Striving is born from tension, from the feeling that you are not yet enough and must struggle to reach something outside yourself. But the harder you strive, the further away mastery seems. When you chase, you create distance between yourself and the very thing you seek. True mastery is not in the pursuit, but in the realization that you already carry within you everything you need. The task is not to chase it, but to uncover it, to let it emerge without resistance. Think of a flower. It does not strive to bloom. It does not force itself to open. It simply unfolds when the time is right, because it is already complete within the seed. No amount of struggle would make it bloom faster, and yet, when the conditions align, it blossoms effortlessly. This is the way of mastery. It is not about adding more to yourself, but about allowing what is already within you to reveal itself fully. When you strive, your mind becomes tight. You set rigid goals. You measure, you compare, you struggle. In this tension, you lose fluidity. You forget that mastery is not a destination, but a state of being. When you stop striving and start becoming, your movements are no longer forced. They flow. You are no longer trying to act like the master. You embody the master. This does not mean you abandon effort. Discipline, practice, repetition, all are necessary, but the difference lies in your approach. When you train with striving, every mistake feels like failure. Every imperfection feels heavy. But when you train with becoming, every mistake is simply part of the unfolding. You are not struggling to achieve something in the future. You are revealing yourself in the present. Each movement, each breath, each moment is part of your becoming. When you truly become, there is no separation between you and the action. The punch is not something you throw. It is what you are in that moment. The kick is not something you perform. It is the natural extension of your being. There is no gap between the doer and the doing. This is where effort disappears, where mastery feels effortless, because there is no longer any division inside you. In life, the same truth applies. Striving for recognition, striving for success, striving for control, these keep you chained. You become restless, always reaching, never arriving. But when you live as becoming, you are already there. You walk, you work, you love, you create. Not to gain something, but to express what you already are. In this way, everything you do carries authenticity, and authenticity carries power. Do not strive, become. Strength is not in resisting, but in adapting. Nature teaches us this truth every day if we are willing to observe. The oak stands tall and rigid, believing it is strong, and when the storm comes, it snaps. The bamboo bends with the wind, yielding yet unbroken, and when the storm passes, it rises again, untouched. True power lies not in resisting the forces around you, but in learning to move with them, to adjust without losing your essence. Rigidity is weakness, flexibility is strength. In life, this principle is the same. Challenges will come, obstacles will appear, and circumstances will change without warning. Those who try to resist every change, to hold tightly to how they think things must be, will break under pressure. But those who adapt, who then, without compromising their core, find that no challenge can defeat them. Adaptability is not surrender. It is intelligence, it is strategy, it is a kind of quiet power that does not call attention to itself, yet cannot be overcome. In combat, adaptability is essential. The fighter who insists on executing the same moves, the same patterns, the same strategy, will be read and overcome. But the one who adjusts, who senses the movement of the opponent and flows with it, becomes unpredictable. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity. Every attack becomes a tool. Every moment becomes an opening. Strength that cannot adapt is strength wasted. Strength that flows with change is unstoppable. Even within yourself, adaptability is vital. Your emotions, your thoughts, your body, they shift constantly. To insist on rigid control over them is to create tension and struggle. But when you learn to adjust, to accept change without resistance, you move through life with ease. The mind that adapts does not panic. The heart that adapts does not break. The body that adapts does not tire. You become like water, bending without breaking, flowing without hesitation. Adaptability also teaches humility. When you bend, you recognize that you are part of a larger system. You are not the master of everything, and yet you can respond to everything. You are not invincible, and yet you are resilient beyond measure. The ability to adjust does not make you weak. It makes you powerful in ways that force cannot achieve. To master adaptability is to master life itself. When you can shift, change, and bend without losing yourself, you discover that no force can truly stop you. Obstacles become lessons, challenges become invitations, and every experience becomes a tool for growth. Strength is not about holding firm. It is about knowing when to yield, and in yielding, finding a power that is greater than rigidity could ever provide. Adapt like nature. To gain true power, you must first let go of the self. The ego, the pride, the constant need to assert who you are. These are heavy burdens that weigh down your body, cloud your mind, and weaken your spirit. When you cling to identity, you create limits, walls that separate you from the flow of life. You try to control, to define, to force, and in doing so, you bind yourself. True mastery begins when you release these chains and embrace emptiness, not as nothingness, but as freedom. When you are nothing, you are everything. When you stop trying to be someone, you become fully present in the moment, and in that presence, your power is complete. The self is a mask, a construction of fear, expectation, and desire. Letting go of it does not diminish you, it liberates you. In emptiness, there is clarity. In clarity, there is precision. In precision, there is unstoppable force. The less you carry of ego, the more freely your energy moves. This does not mean passivity. Being nothing is not being weak. It is not surrender. It is the deepest form of strength because it allows you to act without resistance. You do not struggle with what is. You do not fight the moment. You do not hesitate. Every movement, every thought, every breath flows naturally, without the weight of self-imposed boundaries. In this way, you become like water, like air, like light, flexible, pervasive, unstoppable. Humility is a doorway to this state. When you recognize that your importance is not fixed, when you accept that life is larger than your ego, you step into a freedom that few experience. You no longer need to prove, to dominate, to protect. In the absence of these distractions, your focus sharpens, your reactions become immediate, and your power becomes invisible yet undeniable. Others may not see it, but it is there, complete and unshakable. Being nothing also allows you to learn from everything. The mind that clings to self sees only what reinforces its identity. The mind that is empty sees all, adapts to all, and grows from all. In emptiness, you are open to experience, open to change, open to mastery. Every encounter becomes a teacher, every obstacle a guide, every moment an opportunity to express your true potential. And when you act from this state, you act with total freedom. Your movements are not hindered by fear of judgment, by the need for approval, or by the desire to control. Your presence is complete and your force is unopposed. The less you are, the more you are capable of becoming. The art of being nothing is the source of ultimate power.